Hello, it is your Astro Coach Sarah here. A little informal video ahead of the weekly that will come out on Wednesday, but I wanted to release this video after a couple of conversations that I've had recently with other folks. So this video is basically like my practices and what I do to keep my energy cleared. By that I mean like my energy field. So like interactions that I have with other people, experiences, like emotionally reactive things, like things that trigger my emotions, et cetera, et cetera. Now, you're going to be like, I don't understand what she's talking about. I'm going to skip this video. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Whether you know it or not, you are likely absorbing energy from other people, other experiences, content, TV shows, movies, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm also going to tell you that if you happen to be somebody like me, so I am an Aquarius sun, Scorpio rising with a moon conjunct Uranus in Scorpio first house. And in my experience working with clients, if you have a moon and a water sign, so Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces, and you happen to be like me and have Uranus and Scorpio, which if you're born around the late 70s, early 80s, I don't know the exact years because I didn't actually look that up. Probably should have. I'm an astrologer. Um, but I can tell you that you're probably around, I would say 44 to 48, maybe 49 years old. So 45, 46, 47, 48 in that age range ballpark. You have Uranus and Scorpio. If you have that and you have a moon, Venus, or Mercury, or your sun in Scorpio, chances are, and I just happen to have a lot of clients who have this combination. So it's just happenstance that I get those clients, but um, it's likely that you're absorbing energy without even knowing it. Now, Uranus is exalted in Scorpio. It's at fallen Taurus. It's exalted in Scorpio. But should you happen to have other personal planets, Sun, Moon, which are luminaries, but personal planets, Venus, Mercury, Mars, also in Scorpio, you're likely highly intuitive, highly empathetic or empathic, maybe even psychic, most likely psychic. But because it's a water signs in general tend to absorb energies around them. So it really does depend on who you're hanging around, how you're going to be. And sometimes we don't have control over who we're hanging around because of, you know, going out in public, being around family members, et cetera, et cetera. So my point in saying all of that chatter is to say that even if you don't believe in clearing or cleansing your energy, and even if you don't want to, you are because it's part of your makeup. And so you're like, I mean, I've had people come at me like, I don't want to go through this spiritual stuff. And I get that. But unfortunately, sometimes we don't have a choice. The universe kind of decides for us that this is the experience that we're going to have. And I truly believe we sign up for these experiences. We're meant to, we chose before we incarnated in this human existence that we wanted this experience to learn how to trust our intuition, to learn how to, trust the metaphysics of things as opposed to the literal of things. Um, and so for me personally, I have a lot of visualization type things that I do, um, practices that I do. Um, but I also know there's a lot of people who don't have like the visualization capability. There is a term for that that I don't remember off the top of my head. But there is a term for people who cannot visualize or use visualizations. Um, their brain is very literal. And so I wanted to kind of cater to that as well. However, some of the techniques I'm going to discuss will probably benefit you. And unfortunately, there is a responsibility, specifically, particularly if like unknowingly overwhelm your nervous system, right? And since we're going into this year of the fire horse with all this fire and air energy, it's a good idea to start learning and practicing how to regulate your nervous system, how to regulate your energy field, all of those things. If you're wondering what your energy field is, it's about a 6 foot radius around you ish. Um, and for some people, if you have more fire, if you have more air in your chart, you're probably a bit more, or even earth, you're probably a bit less absorbent. But it's noticeable, but you're less absorbent than, say, a water sign which is a much more permeable energy. So, and then if you have, anyway, so I think you get the point. So I wanted to share with you a few things that I do and a few suggestions that I have. And some of them are just day-to-day things that you can do. The most simplest thing that you can do to cleanse yourself after you've had an experience. Um, and some of these things I was doing before I even knew like the energetic purpose or whatever. It just felt naturally like I should do it. Like I am somebody who I wash my hands after I go to the grocery store. I wash my hands when I come in from a walk. I wash my hands. I mean, yes, I wash my hands after, the typical things, blowing my nose, going to the bathroom, da 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 da. But I also was always like noticing that I washed my hands anytime I left my house and I'd come back home, I'd wash my hands. There were times when I would be in the grocery store, and before I would even leave the grocery store, I would wash my hands. It just depended on how I felt in the experience. But washing your hands, cleansing your hands, especially if you're somebody who's blind and therefore you interact with the world with your hands, cleansing your hands is a good idea. And I would really recommend a non-antibacterial soap because if you are washing your hands frequently, antibacterial soap could ultimately tear up your skin. Um, and then further with that is taking a regular shower, not just taking a bath. I'm all for soaking in the tub, but taking a bath leaves that energy kind of clinging to you versus a shower. The water raining down on you cleanses the energy away, and washes it down the drain. So it's away from your being, away from your body. Um, so showering is good. Uh, there's also like things you can do with herbs, with tea, with oils, like peppermint oil, peppermint tea, those sorts of things. Ginger turmeric, can be very beneficial with moving energy. Kind of the idea of this is when you're clearing, you're cleansing, you're moving stuff through your body. Okay, so if we're talking about like ginger turmeric, if you drink a pretty potent ginger turmeric tea, you're probably going to have a bowel movement very shortly afterwards, right? Because it's moving your bowels, but it's also therefore moving energy through your system. It's helping you digest the energy and move it through your system. Okay, so ginger, turmeric, peppermint, those sorts of things can really help to move the energy through, along with taking a shower, along with washing your hands, cleansing your hands, cleaning your face, cleaning your hair, and letting the excess go down the drain. So there's that, excuse me. Um, cleaning your space, your environment, and using natural cleaners and cleansers. Using lemon oil, like citrusy type oils, so lemon, orange, grapefruit, tangerine, those sorts of things. You can get all kinds of citrusy oils at various stores. You can get tea at the grocery store. Just be aware that not all tea is like you don't want to get the cheapest tea you can get just because it's the cheapest tea you can get. I'm obviously a loose leaf tea person. You don't have to be like me. Um, Yogi makes a good tea. Um, and with things like lemon, ginger, peppermint, those are pretty standard. easy to find teas from different brands. I'm just saying like don't get the usual like the cheapest thing you can get because the tea won't be as good because it won't be as natural and potent and all of those things. Um, okay, so let's talk about like when you have to um, go deal with people like family that you know make you feel like shit or unstable after the fact. Okay. Because I have these people, I have family that I don't necessarily like see eye to eye with, we'll say. So when I know that I'm going to be around family members that are difficult for me or who I know trigger me emotionally, um, whatnot, I have a whole ass process for this. So the night before, I will typically do a very grounding, with some good sound music, not like music with lyrics, but like meditation type music. Um, Somewhere around like 432 hertz, Hertz hertz music, or lower. I tend to go lower because I want to be grounded. Because one of the biggest things about being empathic, being more energy absorbent is your frequency. Um, yeah, I don't want to say it's too high, but like you're too wide open and you kind of need to like ground in and like uh, kind of give yourself an invisible protective shield. And so this is what works for me. Doesn't have to work for everybody. So have music on. I will do very gentle yoga, like child's pose, or simply sitting cross-legged and just sitting quietly. I'll use some woodsy, earthy oils, particularly on my feet, and just kind of give out into the universe like how I want the experience to go, that I don't want to like overreact, that I don't want to be like that, that I want things to go smoothly and um, how I want my experience. So I give that out into the universe, how I want the experience to go. And then after the experience, I will do a very low hertz, like 96 hertz sound, which you can find on YouTube, with noise canceling headphones. And the reason I say noise canceling is this is a very like 96 hertz, these low hertz sounds are very bassy or bass-like. So they have hold a good vibration. And if you use the noise canceling headphones, it'll kind of vibrate through your body, kind of dislodging or like shaking up things within your system, in order for that stuff to like process through your body. And then we're back to the whole ginger, turmeric, citrusy kind of thing. But I want that low frequency. I want my body to kind of vibrate. And, I will also use a grounding oil, like a foresty blend, a woodsy blend, something like that, and I'll put that on my feet so that my body can get the sense of being grounded. And I typically will lay flat on my bed, like flat on my back on my bed with my noise canceling headphones, and the oil on my feet, barefooted, um, and just lay there and like let like for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, however long you feel like you need, um, and let the energy kind of dislodge itself from my body, and then allow it to, and that can tend to just reset my system, just having that vibration, with the grounding oil and that kind of thing. Sometimes I'll use crystals, typically like a red jasper, smoky quartz, tiger's eye, something like that. Something again, grounding, to pull me back down to earth because when I'm triggered, I tend to get like high, like I want to escape, and my escape is I want to be up in the ethers, um, with my spirit team so that I'm protected. But the idea is we're human and we're meant to be here to be human. So, um, the times that I have had like quarrels or fights with my family, the low hertz sound frequency with oil on my feet has been the most beneficial to like reset my system. So those are kind of some of the like meditative type of practices I do. Other things that I do is I'm very much the type of person who like I can't switch back and forth. So like if in the morning I have a certain event going on and in the afternoon I have something completely different going on, my ability to like switch my brain between the is like really next like it's difficult and it can actually exhaust me and overwhelm my system to switch between the two. So like when I was volunteering at a food pantry, those were not the days I filmed videos because I could not make that switch from volunteer to getting focused to film videos. I couldn't make that switch. So I either had to film on Monday, Wednesday, or any other day of the week. Um, so I will block out certain times. And for a really long time, if I knew I was going to have a really busy morning, my afternoon was empty because I was like, I don't know how much time I'm going to need to reset from that. I don't know how much it's going to take to reset from that. So I would um, like not have anything in the afternoon in order to like have ample time to reset my system. So, um, so I have blocks of time so I don't go from one event to the next event to the with three different like two to three different types of events. I can't reset my brain like that. If I'm volunteering that day, that's volunteer day. Like I might be able to do a couple of other things, have some consultation calls or something like that, but like I can't focus on something wholly that day. Same similarly, if I had I don't know, an in-person event, then if I have to go do virtual like I can't switch my brain. And if I do, I'm exhausted, like egg, like take a nap, exhausted. Um, so I'll tend to, and I also notice this if I am like I'm really working on improving my like regular daily routine, but like switching from workout brain to intuitive astrologer brain, even that can be tricky because it's two different parts of my brain and like I can't use them both at the same time. So there's a delicate little balancing act there. And so I'm working on my daily routine as far as like when to work out versus when to be like astrologer and all of that. Um, what else was I going to say? Having blocks of time, um, obviously like setting priorities, like what's the things that need to be done. Like, so I moved, meaning I need to change my address with things. I need to change like finances and stuff like that. But like to do those things, I need to go to those places. Well, since I moved, it's been snowy and cold. So it's like, is that urgent? No. So do I stress about it? No, but it's on my, like, it's still taking up space in my brain. But I'm also like, it's okay if it takes another week or so before I can go take care of that. Like, you know what I mean? Um, so things like that. I feel like there was something else I was gonna say. Something I was going to talk about. Oh, movement. Movement. I know not everybody likes to exercise, but um particularly learning something like yoga or some sort of stretching type of exercise is really important because it allows you to open up your body. When we get emotionally stressed or mentally stressed, we tend to like clench up, right? We're holding ourselves really tight. We are clenching our hips, we're clenching our shoulders, all of those things, right? You might even be like, clenching your hands or whatever. But learning something like yoga, like opening poses, or movements. It doesn't have to be yoga. It can be anything, but even like sitting back and opening up your chest and pulling your shoulders back, or doing any kind of like hip openers. When you open up your body, it can actually move the energy through your body. Um, so, like, we're sitting a lot, which means that our hip hinge, which is where your body bends when you sit, that gets tight, which means your quadriceps get tight, which is the top of your legs, the front top, and then your hamstrings also get tight, which is the top back of your leg. And those are like really big, huge muscles. And so, like, learning ways of stretching your hip flexors, learning ways of stretching your quadriceps, learning ways. If you foam roll, foam rolling is good. I love, hate it as well. So please don't act like I love doing it. I love the effect of doing it. I don't like foam roll, especially the IT band, which is like the outer side of your leg. That fucking hurts. That hurts. But I always feel better. And I can tell when I have not been foam rolling because things feel too tight. So you and having your hips be open, your chest being open, it allows the energy to flow easier. And so, like I said in the beginning, it's one of those things where, like, you may not want to believe that others' energy is the problem. You may not want to believe it, but unfortunately, for many of us, it is very true. And I didn't want it to be that way either. Now, again, I have a lot of visualization stuff that I'm not talking about here. So, one of the visualization techniques that I use that I was taught by a spiritual mentor a few years ago is, for those of you who are interested, is um, using mirrors. So what I do is I imagine like I just imagine it in my head, like people. Doesn't have to be anybody specific. I usually just imagine it as like a group of faceless people, like not faceless, but like a group of people, like an audience. And I imagine that I am standing in the threshold of a doorway. Okay. And it's like two doors. So there's one on each side of me. And the doors have mirrors on them. So when I close the doors, the mirrors are going to face the people, meaning that the people will then have to face themselves. Okay. And on my side of the doors, when I close the doors, it's completely blank, black, right? So what happens is that's my way of like sending the energy back to the other people because I don't want their energy in my space. Okay. So I will take both hands like this and I will simply close the doors and push the energy away, push the energy back to the other people whose energy it is to have. It's not mine to have. I don't want it. But I use that technique frequently when I feel like overwhelmed and I don't really know why I'm overwhelmed or like I'm feeling emotions. And I'm like, why do I even feel? I don't feel sad. I don't feel, nothing's making me sad. Nothing's making me upset. But like, so if I don't know where it's come from, I'll just like do that mirror technique and send the energy back to whose ever sadness it is. Because again, as an empathetic person, you take on what other people are feeling. And let's just say you're at a coffee shop, or you go on the bus, or you go to the gas station and you pass 3 to 5 people, including the cashier, including anyone else who's there getting their morning coffee, anyone else who's there getting their cigarettes, anyone else who's there getting their beer. You're at the coffee shop, there's 9 other people getting their morning coffee and their sandwich, and or you go to the bank and there's like 5 other people trying to do bank transactions, and of course the bank tellers, um, and the baristas at the coffee shop and whatnot. So your energy is whether you interact with each of those people, because that's not how this works. Okay. You pass those people. Okay. Your energy field, which is 6 feet around you, interacts with their energy field, unless, of course, you're 6 feet away from them, which I highly doubt, right? Because most coffee shops aren't that big. Well, I guess some of them are, but like I'm just thinking back to like when I used to go to this local coffee shop where literally we all pretty much like swiped shoulders because it was such a tight space coffee shop. But like, you're also using the point of sale machine, the POS machine to pay for your coffee, to pay for your snack at the gas station, to pay for your whatever, you know. You're also therefore exchanging energy with people, other people who have used that POS machine, whatever. Um, and so you're dealing with all those people. Your energy is meshing with their energy. Okay. So whether you believe that you're like, well, I didn't talk to 9 people, but you passed 9 people. So then you're like, why am I feeling some sort of way? Why am I upset? Why am I angry? Why am I sad? Because whatever somebody was going through whose energy you passed might be going through a catastrophic experience and you're emotionally reacting to it. That's when these mirrors come in handy to push the energy back to them. Like, I don't need your sadness. I don't need your frustration. That's yours. You have to deal with that. It's not mine to have. Now, if you don't get the mirror concept, you can simply put your hands palms out in front of you and push and just push like a broom, like sweep it away. Like, take your energy back. I don't want it. It's not mine to you. It's not mine to experience, et cetera, et cetera. So you can push the energy away. I just happen to like the mirrors because the mirrors are a reflection and it directly reflects the energy back to them. And it has worked for me. So, um, and then I have an invisibility cloak that I use, and it's not a physical garment, but it is a just a kind of like for like I don't even know how I do it, to be honest. I think some of these things I've been doing for a really long time that they're basically subconscious that I'm actually doing them. But when I do the preparing to be with people that I don't emotionally trust, like that I know will trigger me, like doing that whole like yoga practice the night before with the soothing meditation music, things like that. That's applying the invisibility cloak. So I don't have to physically do the cloak of invisibility. It's an invisible protection shield that's happening as I am because I trust that and I infuse that um that energy into what I'm doing, like protect me from, keep me from, blah, 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 blah. So that's another like visualization type of thing that I do. Like see myself wearing a cloak that's keeping all of the energy away from me, so that I'm not absorbing other people's energy. Um, what else? I talked about herbs and oils and things like that. Crystals, there's citrine, which is a cleansing crystal. I also use smoky quartz a lot because it's grounding, tiger's eye protecting, but you can get any kind of protecting stone. You can also get protection stones to protect you from electromagnetic frequencies, EMFs. Um, and those are really good too. I use those a lot when I know I'm going to be around a lot of tech and I want to kind of keep the field away from me a little bit. Um, and you can go to a crystal shop and ask what they recommend or what they have in their store. Um, and then I talked about the process. I talked about the sound stuff that I do. Um, but mostly it's you choosing to take responsibility for the fact that you're an empathic being, that you acknowledge that you take on other people's energy, and that you acknowledge that you're willing to do something about it. Um, and change things up. So there's a lot of things that a lot of different things that I do depending on like how I feel or how I intuitively feel like I need to do it, to do clearing and cleansing. Um, Showering is like a big one for me, um, just because I'm so sensitive to so many different environmental factors. not just the people energy, but like the environment of like the chemical fragrancy crap, um, laundry stuff. I'm so sensitive to all of that that like showering is the best thing for me because it cleans, the all of my skin and my hair, and all of that. Um, But yeah, those are just some of the practices. If you like this video, or if something resonated with you, I know this isn't some, like for some of you who watch my videos, this is completely outside your wheelhouse. It's out of your concept. But what I'm trying to explain to you is that it doesn't matter whether it's in your concept or not. It's something to take responsibility for. And like, I have a lot of Scorpio. Like that's a potent amount of Scorpio. Scorpio rising with a Scorpio moon conjunct Uranus, it's potent. And I know that like I was an emotional dumpster fire before I started doing a lot of this stuff. Like I was reactive to everything, like really bad, like almost embarrassingly so at this point because I've done so much work to shift it. But I also acknowledge that there's a part of having a Scorpio moon that is to transmute and transform how I react emotionally to situations. That's part of having a Scorpio moon. So anyway, journaling can also, of course, be a thing, like writing out things, um, and whatnot. I talked about oils, I talked about herbs, I talked about crystals a little bit, tea. Oh, I know what the thing was I've been wanting to talk about. Okay, so ceremonies or rituals. Um, So for some people, this could just be like your morning routine, your nighttime routine. For me, it's how I like my tea is a ceremony, like how I make my tea is a ceremony, how I make my coffee is a ceremony, how I prepare my food is a ceremony. Um, because it's I'm often in celebration of eating nutritious food. So it's very important to me how I prepare it. It's important to me how I store it. I don't use plastic. I use either stainless steel or glass, to store my food. Uh, same thing with like my tea. I use a stainless steel infuser with ceramic or glass mugs. Um, there is like this whole like appreciating the color, the infusion, because when tea fuses, it changes colors in some respects. Um, there's appreciating um, the process of it. And so for you, this could be like, having a routine or a ritual for taking a bubble bath or a soak in the tub. And I have those too. Like I clean out my tub before I take a bath in it. Um, and that's part of like the ceremony of appreciating the bath, um, sort of thing. If you are somebody who likes candles, maybe you have a ritual or ceremony on how you light your candles, how you set them up, et cetera, et cetera. So having like a process or like certain steps that you do in order to do a thing. Um, maybe it's the type of ingredients that you're using in your food. So you're graduating from using the store brand to going to specialty markets. Maybe you're learning how to make bread, and the process of making bread is a ritual for you. Um, that sort of thing. So rituals are good. Um, Music is good. I know I talked about like the Hertz music. 432 is the heart chakra frequency. Lower frequencies I use to like vibrationally move energy. I don't much get into higher frequency music, or sounds. I think it's because I don't need them. Like I'm always like up in the ethers. I'm always absorbing too much. Um, but also like as far as like classical or like not classical, but like classic rock or like rock or metal or country. Yeah, I use those too. If I really need to like scream or really need to just like feel amped. Linkin Park is one of my faves. Um, or I'll put on like the Top Gun soundtrack or some 80s hair bands that I love. And then, country. I like older country, like 80s and 90s country. I don't like newer shit. It's garbage. Um, I do like a song here and there, but like for the most part, 80s and 90s country. Um, so yes, I do listen to some like regular secular music, but when I'm talking about like moving energy, like those are songs you're gonna listen to when you want to dance and move your body, which is also good, right? But then there's like the music that I want the vibration, the beat, the bass beat, to vibrate the energy through. So there's kind of a difference there, um, and whatnot. I'm also really conscientious of like what shows I watch when. So I have been recently binge watching the show 911 with Angela Bassett and I guess Peter Krause, but I think he gets killed off in the end of the season that I'm currently on. But anyway, spoiler alert. But like ER is one of my favorite shows of all time. Little House on the Prairie is one of my favorite shows of all time. There are certain times when I cannot watch those shows. ER and 911, I can't watch those shows before I go to bed because they do bring up anxiety. Now I do, and I always, almost always, like I need something, like, do you see what I'm saying? So like there's a time and a place, right? I don't watch a lot of horror movies. I used to really love horror movies. I'll watch like a psychological horror, but like I don't like the gore horror anymore. I don't know. I feel it too much in my own body and I don't like it. It's creepy. Um, but what I'm saying is like if be alert of like what you're watching before bed, what you're watching and how your body is responding to it. Because, like, if well, I mean, I know because I'm an astrologer, but like, there are times when I'll be like, the energy, the transits are gonna be to the point where like the nervous system's gonna be affected. So if we have like Mercury, Moon, Uranus involvement in a transit, I'm probably gonna stay away from things that activate my nervous system because it's already going to be slightly anxious. I don't want to contribute to that. So I'm going to do something a little more relaxing, like read a book, or something like that. Or I'm gonna, have a different kind of tea. So like those are important things too to pay attention to. I know you're not an astrologer, but when you listen to my videos and I mention things like these dates, like be aware of your nervous system, those are things to pay attention to. Like maybe you shouldn't watch the scary movie that weekend, or maybe you shouldn't, like, if you can avoid being around certain people during that weekend. I know we don't always have control over that, but when you do have control over something, and also if you know that you have to be around people who trigger you, and you know from my videos that the energy is going to be anxious anyway and nerve-wracking anyway, that would be a good time to practice with some yoga, some solfeggio frequency music, some rituals or ceremonies to allow yourself to be protected from the potential emotionally triggering energy. So, anyway, the more I have practiced these things, the calmer I am in specific situations with people who who I know would trigger me emotionally. And so I still have emotion around it, but I'm not like reactively triggered by it. So, um, anyway, for those of you who've known me for 20, 30 something years, you probably remember the me who was fucking triggered by everything, who was emotionally reactive to everything. But this is like some of what I do to keep myself regulated. Um, and like I said, I didn't believe in this stuff either, but the more I have practiced with it and worked with it, the actual more steady state my mental and emotional well-being are. And that is very important to me. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. Drop me a comment and let me know, or whatever you do to reach out to me. Um, but yeah, let me know if this was helpful. And this is something that falls into the wellness astrology category. So if you are interested in a wellness astrology reading, the link for my appointments is below in the description box. So you can check that out and book with me. So, anywho, I hope this is helpful. I'll see you in the weeklies. They come out on Wednesdays. And if you like videos like this with helpful tools and support, let me know. I'll see what more I can, if there's something specific you want to know about, let me know. So yeah. All right. I'll talk to y'all next time. Take care.